So bad. Oh, God. Jeez, man. Ah. Okay, so, yeah, that was a really bit. Your turn, Nick. Um, Humiliation just is like a part of the fabric of my being now. Hold on one second. Um, so, yeah, I think I want to look at some 15 equal kind of been looking at it a little bit. So it's got some really interesting aspects, which I'll talk about them somewhat. In 15, so 15 EDO is like 3 rings of 5 EDO, basically. So here's 5 EDO. here's 5 EDO, 80 cents up. And then same thing. And it doesn't really have like a 2L, 1S form like a lot of tuning. So trippy, sounds like a major scale at first, but then changes. So yeah, it doesn't have like a good major scale. 12 EDO? Sounds like a 12 EDO major scale at first, but then changes. So yeah, we don't have a pattern that in 15 that does the same thing as 12 EDO. And I spent a lot of time with like 22 EDO. And one of the scales that we use in 22 a lot is called nice tone, which is basically like a scale that sounds kind of like a major scale, but it has 3 step sizes instead of 2. But 22 also has a 5L2S diatonic type of scale, but in 22 we call it super Pythagorean. 15 EDO doesn't have like a super Pyth, but it does have a nice tone. So the nice tone, but the thing is, the nice tone is so weird, which is what I'm about to get into. So the nice tone goes like this. And just like in 22 EDO, nice tone has 3 step sizes. But unlike in 22 EDO, the steps are kind of... So in 22 EDO, nice tone goes 4 steps at 22, then 3, and then 2, and then 4, 3, 4, 2, and that gives you a 7-note, basically diatonic major scale. And all of your thirds in any scale that's built up out of steps is going to just be 2 adjacent steps added together. So in 22, because you have 3 step sizes in nice tone, the step sizes are 4, 3, and 2. Like 4 plus 3 is a 7 step third, which is a major third, and then the next one is 3 plus 2, that's a 5 step sub minor third, and so on. 2 and 4 is 6, which is a minor third, and so on and so forth. So you only have 3 interval sizes, 3 sizes of thirds from that, and those sizes are 5, 6, and 7. So there's no super major third in nice tone, but there's the other 3 types of thirds. Now in 15 EDO, what's really weird about its nice tone is that in 15 EDO, your step sizes are 3, 2, and 1. So you might already see what I'm getting at. So in nice tone in 15 you go 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, 1. So 3 and 2 makes 5, which is a major third in 15 EDO. And then but then 2 and 1 makes 3, which, hold on one second. Sorry about this. Actually, I'll just, whatever, it's okay. 2 and 1 makes 3, which we already know is the size of one of the steps. So the size of one of the thirds in nice tone and 15 Ito is the same size as one of the steps. So because of that, a super major second, or I guess you could just call it a major second, 15 Ito, is the same size as a subminor third in 15, which isn't that crazy. There's a lot of tunings where super major second and subminor third are the same note, but it's not usually the case that the super major second is like a building block of your scales. And you have the thirds. Like, it's not common to have the thirds and the seconds being like the same size. Like an obvious like counterexample from 12 EDO is like the like harmonic minor scale, the augmented second. So like if you're in C, it goes like C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B natural, and then C. So A flat to B natural, an augmented second is the same size as a minor third. So that happens in 12 EDO in the harmonic minor scale. And usually like the melody writing, not always, but it tends to avoid that augmented second as like a melodic stat, although it can be really cool to use. But that is an instance where a step and a third are the same size. But yeah, this is happening here in this major scale. Well, it's supposedly like a major scale, so it's really strange. So what does that mean? What it means is that when you're making triads in nice tone, so here's your major. So your major chord has a major third, minor third, that's your one chord. Then your two chord has a sub minor third, followed by a major third, which the sub minor third is the same size as the step from C to D. So from note 1 to note 2, it's the same distance as from note 2 to note 4. And then there's a note in between, which you don't have something like that in 12 at all. So it's very strange. Like, although the harmonic minor scale has like a step which is the same size as a third, there's not some note in between that. Like, so it's really weird. Because here you have, it's basically, it's kind of like if you combined the like harmonic minor augmented second and like the blues scale chromatic step. The thing is like in the blues scale, that's not usually used as like a, oh, I can't remember, it's not really funny. That's not usually used as like a harmony building scale. It's usually used as a melodic scale over like chords that actually aren't even like in the scale. But yeah, like here, if you're trying to build your triads off of this scale, although maybe that's a good idea, is to think of this as like a melodic scale. and to come up with like a different like harmonic, maybe not scale, but a different way of doing the harmony. Because basically your 2 chord has this funny sub minor third, which it's only 240 cents, like it barely even sounds like a third. Like I don't think it sounds like a third, honestly. But it can kind of sound like it's in a triad. Like that sounds kind of diminished. But yeah, like your 5, so like your 1 chord is this. So here's a 1 4 1, and then 5. That's a 5 7 chord. Instead of having like minor third followed by a whole step. Well, like usually you go like minor third, whole step. But in 15 nice tone, 15 Edo nice tone, it goes minor third, whole step. And the whole step is the same thing as the sub minor third. It's just weird. And yeah, so in 15 you have 3 sizes of step. You have a half step, kind of a quarter tone. I mean, not a quarter tone, like a neutral step. And then this like super major whole tone. So like you could prefer the neutral step as your like whole tone, or you could prefer this because it's so wide that actually it's literally like that's what makes the 5 Edo scale. Sounds kind of diminished. Yeah, like if you play that, it sounds diminished enough. Yeah, 15 Edo is so weird. Ah, shit. Oops. So, like, for this 2 chord, you have this sub minor third. Is that a minor third? No, it's a major third. So you have sub minor third followed by a major third. You like it? Yeah, it's kind of neat, but yeah, it's very strange. So Fitzgerald came up with some names for all the triads in 15. That's actually what kind of got me into this. Wanting to look at this. So yeah, you can see like so he's calling so he included the sub minor third as a third, and like when I looked at the chart, my first thought was, oh, that's really cool, we have triads for 15. And then I was thinking like, what are these thirds? Like, why are there so many chords? And then when I was looking at the chart on the wiki, the sub minor third is only 240 cents, which is like, that seems too small. So I was kind of arguing with Fitzgerald at first. Well, not really arguing, but just like saying like I don't know if I would consider that a third. Um, but he was saying that he does, and he just doesn't consider the sixth step a super major, which they put on here that 3 out of 15 maps to 7/6, which is a subminor third. That's septimal subminor third, the same one that's in 22 Ito. And they map the 480 cent to the 9/7. So the same interval in 15 maps to the perfect fourth and to the super major third, which kind of makes sense. I mean, it's a bit of a stretch, honestly, for both intervals, but especially for the super major third. But yeah, I mean, the second is just so wide that it. And the thing is, like, I didn't really think it could be a third, but then I was kind of listening to some of the chords, and some of the chords did sound like I thought that sounded pretty diminished, like diminished enough. And I thought this sounds enough like the Orwell minor, or Orwell major. That sounds enough like the Orwell minor in 22. That it's like, well, if it's a triad in 22, like, why wouldn't a very similar sound also be a triad in 15? So I pretty much warmed up to it, and I think what really kind of sealed the deal for me was when I was looking at nice tone. I realized that occurs as a third in the scale. So oops. What the heck? Yeah, there's like 2 chords at least where that subminor third pops up. So that's one of them. That's the other one. So yeah, the 2 chord and the 7 chord both have that subminor third. And in Fitzgerald's naming scheme, that would be, this one would be it's kind of like the Orwell minor in 22. This would be 3 and 8. He calls that semaphore. And this one would be 4 and 7. So that'd be O tonal diminished. So a nice tone in 22, you'd have major, semaphore, major, semaphore, minor, major, major, minor, O O-tonal diminished. Back to major. So the major chords are all in the right spot. And yeah, the major triads sound pretty good in 15. So do the minor triads. That's not it. There we go. So let's actually take a look at the minor Zarlino. This should go 3-1-2-3-1-3-2. So three, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2. C minor. Okay, so yeah, minor. So this would be sub minor, then minor. Sub minor, then minor would be 3, then 7. That's that U-tonal diminished again. And then a major, minor, minor, major, so this would be five, hey, that's the wolf major. Is that right? 3, 6, 5 plus 3. It's the wolf. So that's nothing too crazy. So minor, O-tonal diminished, major, minor, minor, major, the wolf. Back to minor. So like this Blackwood chord is literally like, that's a fourth on top. It's kind of more like a tone cluster than a triad. But if you consider that super major second, a sub minor third, they would stack to make a triad, I guess. Now the tonal diminished does sound kind of diminished. I mean, that sounds diminished. Maybe it sounds augmented. That sounds diminished. That's the U-tonal diminished. That's the O-tonal diminished. So semaphore, U-tonal diminished, or Blackwood, sorry. U-tonal diminished, O-tonal diminished, and then semaphore. So 0, 3, 8 is 7, 4. This will be diminished. And then that's the wolf major. So 22, I call that Orwell major. You know, one thing that's not great about these temperament names is that this is kind of like a recurring triad. But if it's in a different tuning, it's going to have a different name. So it's basically a major down 5 chord. And then, because the temperaments end up being associated with kind of different, like, Variable was calling this kind of thing semaphore in 19, where the subminor third stacked to make a fourth, which kind of makes sense because I mean that's what happens. But Fitzgerald's calling it Blackwood. In 22, I call it a subdiminished, but it does sound diminished in 22. But it's the same thing as two subminor thirds. And then, so yeah, in 22, I basically call this same constructions, Orwell minor, chemic, and Orwell major. But like in 19 Edo, this chord would be a straight up diminished. I don't think we necessarily need a tuning agnostic naming system, but like, if the chords are that similar, I think it would I mean, it's basically, I mean, if you call a major chord regardless of the tuning, why wouldn't you call these other chords the same thing regardless of the tuning? So then the question is like, do you want to just like give it temperament names from some particular temperament? I mean, from some particular tuning, or do you want to give them some other kind of name? Because basically, you could name the chords according to the triads as well. I mean, not triads, but like the size of the third. So you could just say like minor major makes minor, major minor makes major, blah blah blah. Sub minor makes subdiminished. Major makes augmented. Super major makes some other crazy chord. And then like regardless of the tuning, it's the same quality of triad. And in the different tunings, it would be associated with different temperaments. But you could just call the triad the same thing regardless of the tuning. Because I mean, a lot of tunings are going to have the same number of triads. Because they're only going to have so many types of thirds. So like a chord naming system that is just like based on the thirds. The thing is, in 12 Edo, basically the chord names are kind of, sometimes they're kind of a shorthand. Like diminished is kind of a shorthand for a minor diminished fifth. And then like a C7 chord, C7 is kind of a shorthand for C major minor 7. We don't call it that, we just call it a C7. So we have these sort of shortcuts, like these shorthand terms that most people don't learn, like to call a C7 a C major minor 7 is like essentially jargonistic. Like unless you're like in this raw theory space, no one's gonna call it that. So it would be possible to create names for triads based on the configuration of the quality of the thirds. I think the hard part is just figuring out what to call them. Because like when we were just looking at 22 Ito, and I was just like asking people, what would you call these chords? It just made sense. I mean, I just was listening to what everybody else was saying. Basically, like they called the two subminors of Orwell because that's the Orwell generator, and 22 Ito is that interval. But if there's some temperament agnostic name for two subminors that is not cumbersome to say, that's the thing. I think there's already some systems like that, but I don't know. I should ask in the Discord. Obviously, kite system is temperament agnostic, but I'm really thinking of like, how do you get a system? The thing is like a major chord sounds completely different depending on what tuning you're in. In kite's naming system, so I mean, they sound, regardless of how you name the chords, they're going to sound different depending on the tuning, but if you just say, okay, in 22, like there's two interpretations of 22's thirds, which are both valid and both logical. But in one interpretation, the chords sound more like what you would expect them to sound like based on what they sound like in 12 EDO. So you can either say a major chord is super sharp, has a really sharp third, or you can say a down major has a closer to 5 limit third that sounds more like the 12 Ito major third. Or you can just say a major chord sounds like the major chord from 12, and the other chord is a super major. And that's what I prefer. And so with any given tuning, you would want to determine what thirds sound like what. Now the problem is, if you want a truly temperament agnostic naming system, I think that the names would have to become overly verbose past a certain point. But maybe like in systems with up to either 16 or 25. I don't know what would be a good cutoff point. But maybe one of those you could just say, okay, maybe there's a way to name the chords. That would make sense, because like here, if the naming system in 22 Ito was temperament agnostic, we would have the same exact names for all these chords. So the double sub minor would have the same name, blah, blah, blah. Because here the only ones that are consistent are the utonal diminished, O-tonal diminished, and that's it. So what would be, I don't know what you would call the chords though, that's the thing. What would you call a major chord with a down 5 without just saying major down 5? And because what you would need would be like a down 5 qualifier and an up 5 qualifier. Those would be the big things. If you had some kind of qualifier for up 5 and down 5, that would help. But it's really not even that. It's like, I think that's the wrong way to think about it, because in different tunings, the fifth is altered in different ways. Like in 22 Ito, you have a down 5 and an up 5, but you also have a down sharp 5. And you have like a sharp 5 and a flat 5. So you have like, the fifth is like not really, in a weird way, the fifth is not what's important. What's important is the quality of the thirds. I think if there's a way to name the chords where you ignore everything else, but just say like sub is this, and then sub minor is this, and then sub major is this, blah blah blah. So like 2 subs could make a sub diminished. And then like the basic triads would all be accounted for. Sub minor, minor, major, super major, that would be the same in every system. You might as well just say augmented for major, major, and then it would be just like a question like, well, like in 22 we're calling that magic, so what would you call the inversions? So like Chris Vaisville calls the 2 sub minors tiny, and the super major is giant. Those probably wouldn't be good tuning agnostic or temperament agnostic names. Yeah, it's also like a question like, where would you make the cutoff? It's easy to just like see these associations with the temperaments. So yeah, one way to think about 15 is that there's only major, minor, diminished, and augmented triads. And then all these other chords are just inversions of seventh chords without a root, which I think is defensible as well, because like in 22 Ito, it just doesn't work out that way. Like you literally like don't get seventh chord because the thing is, it's weird, and the reason we have 9 of these is because we're including the subminor third, which is also a step. Since it's also a step, it can basically always be considered a seventh of some other chord, as opposed to being like a subminor third. It could also be a seventh, so depending on the context, it would be. That doesn't really change the fact though that like this sounds kind of diminished, and this sounds diminished. But those are, you could actually interpret the chords that way, which I think would kind of simplify things, because then it's really a matter of thinking about what are the extended chords, and then like you would have these special cases of like inverted seventh chords being used in this sort of like triadic kind of way, which is done in music already. Like in 12 Ito, there's a lot of instances of like chords with no third having like a consistent sort of structural use. They're not chords that have a special name, and they don't, but they do pop up here and again, and kind of the ambiguity of like a thirdless chord can be like a jumping off point to a key change. But like a seventh chord with no third can do that sort of thing, and it doesn't have a special name, but it's still a functional seventh chord, and it's not always arranged like fifth, third. A lot of times it's arranged like a second and then a third or whatever. So you could say that 15 Ito does the same thing, but if you're trying to break down nice tone, I mean, it would be kind of weird, because it'd be like saying that you don't have a triad on the 2. So that is like the biggest, but maybe nice tone isn't a scale like that. And there's a lot of scales that don't really give you a clean like row of triads. So you could just say, well, nice tone in 15 doesn't give you triads on every note. Like this feels diminished, you know what I mean? So it's almost like, I don't know. Does it really make sense to do that? Yeah, you could say this is like a I guess. Be like a minor 7 down 5 with no third. I don't know. I think it's easier to just consider that a triad. Hey, Fitzgerald, what's up, dude? Yeah, I've been looking at this chord chart and just like thinking out loud about 15. I mean, it's so strange. But this has got me thinking about I don't know if you heard me rambling about how like in 19 this basically the same chord variables calling a semaphore, but then in 15 a semaphore is what I call a Orwell minor or whatever. And it's just got me thinking like I wonder if there's a better way to name triads in systems that have like 16 chords or maybe even up to 25. Cuz like depending on the tuning the associated temperament would change, but the chords still sound kind of similar. Like if we were to compare these in yeah, that would be fun actually. I want to compare these triads in the different tunings and see how different they sound. So like in 15 and 22 and 19. So let me write down what the third sizes are in those three tunings. So in 15, 3 is S, 4 is M, 5 is major, and then I'm not really including 6, but it would be super major if we did include it. And I can't remember 19, I'll look those up in a second, but 22, 5 is S, 6 is 5, 6, 7, 8. This does not look clean at all. Let's do that different font. What the heck happened here? It's got double spaces. What the heck? That's freaking Notepad doing weird shit. Yeah. Let's just do this. This is good. And then Major is 6 and 19, right? No. Yes. So minus 5, so sub minus 4. Bro, can I just do what I'm trying to do? This is so annoying. Dude, fuck. Nope. This notepad sucks. Notes. God, I hate it. It just freaking tries to tell me what I'm trying to do. Like, so fucking annoying. Okay. I'll double check 19 real quick. That's gotta be it. It's gotta be right. Five. So 4 would be sub minor third. Okay. It's probably a setting to turn math. Dude, I turned off like all the settings, man. I turned them all off. A bunch of these were checked off before, and I've turned everything off. It's still, it still just freaking tells me what it wants. Just tells me what I want. It knows better than I do what I'm trying to type. It's just so annoying. Just let me type what I'm typing. You know what I mean? Okay, so anyway. Let's go to Zen paper. And I mean, we could literally just plug all these in. So we'll just start with the it's always going to start with a 0. And then okay, so here would be the 15 Ito semaphore, 19 Ito, no, 15 Ito Blackwood, 19 Ito semaphore, 22 Ito Orwell, or subdiminished. So I feel like these progressively get to sound more like a triad of some type. But these make a fourth. These also make a fourth. Like 8 is a fourth, and so is 6. But that's how they sound. And then let's keep going. So that's the I can type notes on. That's okay. I can type notes. Just keep going. So the next one would be the sub minor, and then the major or the minor. So that'd be 7. So 4 plus 5. Oh god, this is so annoying. And then oops. plus 6. Let's listen to this one. These do sound super similar. The 15 and the 19 sound really similar. So that one is the U-tonal diminished in all three of these. And yeah, I think it's the most convincing here as a just like a type of diminished, like this has a diminished sound, I think. Yeah, this is making me like 22 more too, because the subminor third like is unambiguously like a third, which is pretty cool, because even just the subminor stack sounds diminished. Which makes sense, it doesn't make a fourth. Ito's definitely sounds more diminished, yeah. Because it has a sharp 7/5. That's the 11 interval is a 7/5, I guess. The tritone or whatever. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I think even this with the 10/22 sounds pretty triad-y. Like it still has a subdued, but it doesn't, it doesn't have that like blendy kind of clustery thing quite yet. Although it's definitely approaching it. But like if a fourth is on top, it like feels different, Although I like this though, because it does showcase that this is a gradient. You know what I mean? Because like when I was listening to this chord, when Variable and I were first talking about it, I kind of didn't think, I was like, I don't know if I even want to include this as a third. I mean, I thought I did at first, but then this chord in particular made me question it, because they stack to make a fourth. I was like, I don't know. But compared to the 15 EDOs, it sounds a lot more, I don't know, it sounds more, but I think it's because the 15 EDO fourth is almost like a third. It's so flat. But it's definitely closer to a fourth. 22 definitely has a good subminor third, yeah. Yeah, it has a distinctive subminor third. But that's also a neat thing about 26. Is like 26 is like even more than 22. Like if you compare the triads in 22, sometimes I feel like I think in some contexts they can feel pretty interchangeable. But in 26, even though it's more notes, more finely divided up, I feel like the chords just sit in a nice spot where like the subminor and the minor and the major and the super major are like all kind of distinct in a pretty clear way audibly. Like there's not this like 26, since it's basically just flat mean tone, just flat tone. it doesn't have that structural ambiguity that 22 has, where like super pyth starts to feel bad for diatonic. In 26, you don't really have that issue. And so there's not this like tendency to want to like push to something like nice tone. So you get this like major mode, which is definitely tending towards neutral, but when you do the super major mode, it's like this distinct thing, which is kind of cool. And then the same thing on the other side too, I feel like. But all right, let's keep doing these though. These are the only like, this is like the most, this is the chord where I'm the most like, I don't know. But I feel like a lot of these with the sub minor third in a 15, I'm thinking they're gonna feel kind of like more like triads. So like let's go to this one. So 3 and then 8. So 5 is major. So 4 and then, so this would be 9. No, 6, right? So this would be 10. Alright, and then so we're doing sub minor major. Maybe I should put notes up here to make sure. How do you do a note again? Comments. Put a hashtag. So, all right, and let's do it this way. So sub minor and then major would be 7, so that'd be 12. Okay, so let's try these. Yeah. I really want to compare these two. Interesting. I feel like these sound pretty similar. I mean, this is obviously like a brighter version of this, but these feel like the same chord quality. You know what I mean? And these are almost identical. These sound almost exactly the same. Yeah, I can't even tell the difference. I hear it shifting slightly, but yeah, the biggest difference is when it goes to this one. I feel like it's the top note. Yeah. So I'm gonna skip this one because it's not in. We're not counting it. 15. I mean, we could do it anyway, I guess, just to see. Just for the hell of it, let's see. So this is an inversion of a another triad, but you know what? It has a sub minor third in it. So this sounds like what's this? 3 to 9. That's 6. 6 is a fourth and 15. Is that right? No. Yes. Yes, it is. That's what's strange. So this is a fourth. So 9 to 15. This is 6. So that's another fourth. So this is like a quartal thing, actually. Because it sort of. Well, yeah, you could stack it 4, 4 if you wanted to. You do 4, then so you could do 6. So if you subtract the 3, it'd be -3, so it'd be 6 to 12. to 6 to 12 to 15. Yeah. 0, 6, 12. 0, 6, 12 will be an inversion of this. So 6 is like a fourth. Right? That's right. So that's like a quartal thing at that point. So like the super major in 15 is quartal. So it's not distinct. So like a super major third is a fourth in 15. So you wouldn't have like a super major stack that would be distinguishable from a quartal chord. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And I imagine that's why you didn't want to include it. That's a subminor triad in 15 EDO. The first inversion of this. No. Oh, this. Oh yeah, this is, yeah, right. So I guess these are kind of similar. Let's listen to these. The 19 ones sound weird. Yeah, the 22 one is way more stable. The 19 has this interesting floaty quality like the 15 one, but they sound very different. Yeah, they all sound very different. Hey man, what's up? So the discussion's little on Zen Discord, cool. Yeah. Yeah, Fitzgerald got me inspired to check this out. So, so yeah, since Variable posted her video, and we were kind of talking about these chords, and then Fitzgerald posted the chord chart. I figure let's just compare all these chords. So yeah, let's just keep going. Might as well keep going. We're already getting somewhere. So now we're gonna do minor, subminor. So these will go up by 1. And then that'd be 9, right? And then this would be 11. Alright, so minor, subminor. Actually, separate these out. One more. Alright, so minor, subminor. So again, 15 and 19, they tend to sound more similar. But they didn't on one of these chords. Which one was it? Yeah, these sound so similar. Was that the same thing here? Yeah, they sound really similar. These all sound different. These sound pretty similar too, yeah. And then here, the 22 and the 15 sound more alike. So on this one, 22 and 15 sound more alike. 15 sounds more like 22. 15 is kind of the topic of interest right now. Like 9, 10. And then here 15 sounds like. Alright. And they're all distinct. So then we would go minor, minor. So just minor 10, 12. Stupid bug, man. So one thing I'm noticing, you're gonna watch back some other time, right? Is this 22 double minor chord? It sounds so warbly. Like this one, it's not. I feel like you can hear the beating. So that chord sounds kind of trippy in a 22, but in the other tunings, it sounds more normal, but they all sound diminished. 22.65 is a 10-inch pitch sharp, yeah. Approaching neutral, yeah. So yeah, that one in 22 sounds kind of crazy. So I guess 15 and 19 are more similar, but they don't really sound the same. So I'll just say they're all distinct. But 22 sounds crazy, so just put that. And then minor, major. I think we just add 1 to each of these. Should be good. Plus 5, 5 plus 6, and then 6 plus 7. Okay. Oh, jeez. Hold on a second. Freaking bug has been harassing me all day. But I got him finally. Alright, where were we? We're doing these. Minor, major. Alright, so this is a, just a minor chord. Oh, wow. The 19 minor chords sound so different. I guess because the fifth is flatter. But these two sound way more alike. How does that compare to the 12 veto? Yeah, so the 12 veto sounds more like 19, which makes sense. 22 and 15 sound more like here. 15 sounds like 22. Or not exactly, but more like 22. And then I might as well just do them all. Oh, I can also hear 19 and 22. Oops. So I think this is like a, what's 5, 10 to 5 at the third? That's at fourth, so this would be like a major third. So this is just an inverted major chord. 19. So 19 sounds a lot like 22. Interesting. So 19 and 22 sound a lot like here. And this is the sense of minor. So that makes sense. They have the same name in both tunings. Thinking about it, you probably name 038 out of 15 after the Triforce temperament. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like a quartal thing. But yeah, I could see that. I could see that one getting a generates 3L3S and 3L6S, which has that chord. Oh, I see. That's kind of like a whole tone, I guess. Is that true? Or is it like a... I don't know. I don't know what it is. Okay. So that's the minors. It can go either way. Okay. Okay, so let's do major subminor. So 8, 6 plus 4 is 10. 7 plus 5 is 9. So I'll just go up 1. Okay. So minor, subminor, so major, subminor. So in 22, I'll call that Orwell. Major. And then I don't remember what variable was calling it in 19. Let's see. Wait, major. What is it? 6, 4. There. Oh, I just had semaphore major. Oh, okay. That's what I thought. Semaphore major. 19. I need to write. Oh, I think I did write it down. Anyway. Okay, let's. Oh, wow. The 19 one is super crunchy. They all sound distinct, but I'd say 15 and 22 sound a little more similar, just because the 19 one is super crunchy. And this almost sounds like just like a chord. Orwell major. I love that chord in 22. That's like, since I've done these triad explorations, it's like maybe my favorite chord in 22. Favorite discovery so far in 22. Although there's other chords that I'm really excited about as well. But I don't know, it just sounds so good. I don't know what it is. It's a major triad with a down 5. But yeah, it sounds awesome. All right. This is wrong. I should do this. Major, minor. So this is just a major chord. And expectedly, 15 sounds like 22 in this. They have pretty similar major and minor triads. Because they both have kind of sharp fifths. Although the 22 triad does not have a sharp third. And 15 does, so it's kind of interesting. But they sound very similar. '15 has got that really blended but stretchy sound. I guess it's that DR thing. And then let's try this. Okay, this makes sense because the major thirds in 19 and 22 are both kind of flat. So they sound a lot more similar, and in 15 it sounds like a totally different chord, which is why I think it does kind of make sense to call these magic. You know, maybe this is almost making me like the temperament names more. I wonder if there's a way to make the the ones where 15 and 19 are the same, like, would you be able to call this one semaphore in 15? And I don't know what is it? Subminor, minor. And these are named the same thing in 15 in all three of these. So I wonder if on the ones where they're the same, if they do have the same temperament, it would just make it more, we would at least have some consistency going. Because I think in some instances they don't really. But what about the ones where 15 sounds like 22? Well, they're called the same thing right there. What about this one? Sub super major. It's a sub minor. Okay, so they would have the same name as well. So yeah, it's like if they sound the same, they probably support the same temperament. Blackwood is the collapsed version of semaphore. Yeah, it would just, I guess it would be annoying because you would either have to rename the semaphore, or I don't know if those chords are like variable calls those the semaphore major and minor. I don't know if those are in 15. If that same triad pops up in that mode. I guess that would be like this one. Sub minor major. Do these sound the same? They don't sound exactly the same, but they sound more similar than that. Sound kind of similar. I don't know, they do sound kind of distinct. Yeah, they're like the same. I don't know. But yeah, any instance where it could be the same, maybe it should be the same. So like here, this is, and 15 is obviously augmented. But then 19 and 22 sound alike, but that makes sense because they both support magic, so 19 sounds like 22. Alright. And then, I guess the last category is going to be weird for 15, but we'll just do it. That's not major. Yeah, it is. Okay, sorry. It is major. So, okay, that's right. All right, let's go. 19 and 22 are like identical. And this one, because this is a fourth, this would be like, so this would be like 4, 5. So 4, so this is just an inverted minor chord. And 15, it's an inverted minor chord. All right, so let's see what happens when we do these. So it'd be 6, 7, 8. This would be the super major triad. This would be 9, 11, 13. Super major triad, let's go. Why 19 sounds so different? Oh, because the fifth is so different. So these sound similar because the fifth is the same. Oh, those don't sound the same at all. All right, none of them sound the same. This sounds like a sus chord. Or like a 4 chord, actually. Or something. I guess a minor 4 chord. I don't know. It almost, this sounds like it's resolving to this. Like a 4-1 resolution. That's fine. And these do not sound alike at all. This sounds like a sus chord. So it's got the same problem as 22, but it's even more exaggerated in 19, where the super major sounds kind of like a sus. Alright, whatever. Alright, none of them sound alike, though. They all sound very different. This one is literally a oh, weird. The super major triad inverts to a sub minor triad, which inverts to a quartal chord in 15. That's weird. That's cool. We should play that actually on here. So what 6 would be? And that chord's in 5 EDO. So that's that chord. The super major third is conflated with the, yeah, it's conflated with the fourth, exactly. Yeah. All right, and then super major and then minor. So these are just gonna go up 1. Almost done. Okay, so once again, 19 sounds like 22. That's because it's a sense of major chord. So since both tuning supports sense of magic, that makes sense. And then 15, once again, it's like an inversion of a different triad. In this case, it's a minor chord. It's an inversion of a minor chord. All right, let's keep going. since 19 and 22 both support magic, these are both magic major triads. They sound very similar. And then 15, it is a major chord inverted. It's just an inversion of a major chord. And so yeah, this makes sense why you wouldn't count the super major third, except in like only certain contexts, I guess. Really wanted to, I guess. And since 1922 both support Sense of Magic, and that's a Sense of Magic triad in its purest form. They sound very similar. And then this is a sub-minor third on the top. So this is that same chord as before. That's the same chord we were just playing a minute ago. That's that quartal chord. Alright. Super major is completed. Well, yeah, cool. That's kind of fun. So it's neat to, so now we can see why it kind of makes sense to maybe not include the super major third in 15, but maybe in some contexts it would make sense to use it, but in most it probably wouldn't. But the sub minor third in 15, at least in certain, probably in most of these chords, it does seem to make a chord familiar to either 19 or 22. So we found a few uses of that sub minor third. But maybe not every configuration would be a useful triad. Like I don't know about this. I feel like this is a tone cluster. I mean, it doesn't hurt to give it a name, but I don't imagine myself using this and thinking of it as a triad. But I don't know. Someone definitely could. I mean, that could be an interesting exercise or something. Would be to either try to use this as like a subdiminished chord or try to resolve to this chord, or I don't know, something like that. Could be interesting. Maybe you can find a context for it. But yeah, I thought like on the diminished chords, it does sound pretty diminished. Obviously, like 22 sounds more so, but I think it can work. I think more importantly, like if you're playing a nice tone, the chord does pop up. So like it does sound more diminished here when the minor third's on the bottom. Versus the utonal diminished. The utonal diminished sounds kind of, you know, just like a cluster. But this does sound like a diminished. So I think with this sub minor third, it's very context dependent, whether or not it sounds like a third or a second. obviously that's subjective, so to me that's clearly like a diminished sound here, but on the utonal version, it's not really as clear. And honestly, I don't think the utonal sounds very diminished in 19 either. Compared to 22. 22 has that kind of, I don't know, just has that sound. I guess because it has a tritone in it. That doesn't hurt. That being said, that's not a reason to like just not consider this a third and not consider this at least a theoretical triad. And same thing here. But yeah, it is interesting how like in some of the smaller tunings this would happen in larger tunings too, but it is interesting how there are these intervals that in certain contexts can be a second or a third, you know. It's somewhat feasible in 039 of 15. Let's check that one out again. That's the super major. I mean the sub minor. Yeah, I agree. It sounds a lot like 22. It sounds like, yeah, I think here, for whatever reason, this doesn't sound so much like a fourth. It does sound like a fourth, but not as much. And yeah, it sounds a lot like the 22 version too, so. So yeah, I think you do have like a good sub minor triad actually. Yeah, I agree with that. But it does sound kind of sussy. Yeah, I guess it depends on the context. Like, would you resolve to that? I mean, you could resolve to that. But if you resolve to that from a fifth or a fourth below, the fifth of the fourth is the third of the sub minor, so it's like a sussy kind of. Could you use a sandpaper thing later? You've never. Oh yeah, I'll send you a link. Sandpaper is sick. Let me get you up. If I give you that one I was just doing, it'll literally give you everything I wrote down. It's very context dependent, I guess. But definitely when you listen to the 22 triad, listen to that, they sound like very similar. So. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's really good to like just trial out sounds like if I want to do comparisons in like J-high and stuff. A lot of times I'll use this. Obviously Scale Workshop is good to do this kind of thing too, but like doing this in Scale Workshop might be kind of annoying. But yeah, it wouldn't be that hard to do this, just loading up 3 synths and setting one to each tuning and putting it in piano roll. That would be good. That'd be a good way to do it as well. All right, well, I think that's good. You know what? I think I could do something else now, but maybe this is a good wrap up point. Yeah, I think 15, because it conflates categories so much. You go several different ways, but I'm definitely into using the subminor as a third. Especially when it's not on the bottom of the chord, or if it's with at least a major third. And considering that, like, these two, I'm a little skeptical that I would ever find use for them where I actually thought it was a triad, just like a bass chord, and not like a cluster or an inversion of a seventh chord or something. But I think this right here is a good use of it. I do think this sounds kind of like a sus chord, but it does sound a lot like this 22 super major too. But, the 22 super major sounds a lot like a sus chord. I think it's just has a little more wiggle room, but they're very similar sounding chords. And then, yeah, like this one where the minor third's on the bottom, this is very diminished sounding. And then this one with the major third on the bottom, I think that one's good. Sounds a lot like the 22 Edo version. This is kind of like an inversion of a minor chord, so I don't know about that, but yeah. Cool. Well, that's fun. Maybe I'll jam a little bit in 15 before I go. I'm kind of curious actually about the all the sevenths. Because the one thing about 15 that is pretty interesting, it's got 3 qualities of seventh. It's got a major seventh, like a neutral seventh, and a minor seventh. So I kind of feel like this. That's cool. It's like a sharp 9 chord basically. Like a neutral 7, up 9. And the 7th is so flat, kind of functionally it's similar like a 6. Like a 6 chord, like a resolve. guess like harmonic seventh. You want the link with the stuff in it? Yeah, sure. Here. Oh, it's too big. I can send it on Discord. I think we're friends on Discord. Not totally sure, but I'll check real quick. Oh, let's see your name. Same one. Oh yeah, here we go. All right, I'll add you real quick and send you this link. And yeah. It's too long. That says it's too long. I don't have nitro. I mean, how badly do you want the link? I could send it to you in 2 halves, I guess. And you can. I can put it in a Google Doc. Here, I'm just gonna send you the link in 2 slices. Yeah, you just copy the first one and then copy the second one at the end of that. If that doesn't work, I'll do a Google Doc, I guess, or I mean, I can email it to you if you want. It's not a big deal. I don't know how people are about their emails, but I don't think it's a big deal because I have like 3 different emails that I use, so I have, anyway. It's like, what are you gonna do with my email? Send me spam? Like, who doesn't do that already? Alright. So kind of like 22, this is like the neutral 7's kind of like the minor 7. But unlike in 22, I think the neutral 7 is a good dominant. This one's good too, but it's like feels a little more restful. Feels more functionally like a dominant. that. That's a cool minor chord, minor 7. I guess minor neutral 7. Sounds cool. I saw a guitarist with a 15 Ito guitar playing some metal. I'm kind of like, man, why aren't more people doing that? I mean, I guess 17 is a good choice too. I think 15 would be a good choice to do like some really like spacey prog, like progressive metal type stuff. I think it could work really well with that. Because it sounds so stretchy anyway. And I think because structurally, 15 EDO is so weird, like to think about it like diatonically, like it probably wouldn't be that hard. Like a lot of times in like progressive rock kind of music, you don't usually stick to a key center anyway. You kind of just like take a chord shape and just like move it around. And you'll have like different chord qualities, but it's a lot of like extended chords and stuff, like a lot of jazzy kind of chords, but in a like kind of spacey, sort of modal shifting kind of thing structurally. So I think that style would be like really easy to do in 15. What happened to sandpaper? Threw me out. This is my stream screwing up. Okay, I think I'm gonna get going. But thanks everybody who hung out today. She'll be back tomorrow. Might look at 15 a little more. We'll see how I'm feeling tomorrow. But yeah, it's cool to kind of compare the triads and get a little more clarity on those. All right. Y'all have a good rest of your day. See y'all next time.